listening to Professional Development, the New York City Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Noah, and today I'm joined by Lydia Howrilka to discuss practical advice for the teacher who's looking to transfer to a new school before the start of next school year. Lydia is in her 10th year of teaching, although not all of these years have been with the DOE, and I suspect that is something we will discuss in the episode. She's a founding member of the Solidarity Caucus of the UFT. She's a member of the UFC slate in this year's UFT election, and a history teacher at Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn. Lydia, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when I was imagining this episode a few weeks ago, I thought it would be about navigating open market, which just opened up not too long ago. Little did I know at the time that we would get to a few weeks into open market being open, only to have no jobs posted. Fortunately, Lydia, you were doing some work behind the scenes to gather up resources for teachers looking to transfer schools. And now I'm wondering what motivated you to put this article together, and how did you go about doing it?
Well, thank you. Once again, thank you for having me. So I have been active in the union since I started my career in teaching roughly 10 years ago. And I have been basically learning everything I know today through experienced seasoned educators who would talk to me frequently about all the givebacks that the union has done to rank and file members since the dreaded, infamous 2005 contract. So let me give you all a little bit of context, because I'm sure a lot of members simply don't know what happened. So basically, to keep it simple, prior to 2005, teachers had a right to transfer. Since 2005, we do not have that right. So teachers can only transfer today, but they need the permission of the principal of the school to which they're trying to apply to. Prior to 2005, there were two lists: a seniority transfer list through which teachers could transfer based on their seniority. A lot of these vacancies were hidden, but many of them were not. So there were many seniority transfers. So the big issue we have today is that often a lot of teachers who are very seasoned, who are veteran teachers, who earn a lot of money, a lot of them are struggling with finding positions. And this is mainly because after the 2005 contract, and after we had Mayor Bloomberg take over the New York State Department of Education, essentially principals were given a ton of leeway to control who they wanted to hire. So pre-2005, there was also another option. This is called the integration transfer list. Teachers could transfer in order to bring a school's demographic balance in line with the district. So again, principals had no say over this. Unity Caucus has always said that transfers increased after 2005. And honestly, this might be true, but it really obscures the fact that the 2005 contract took away the right to transfer and gave the power to decide who transfers to principals. Today, principals tend to favor untenured and cheaper teachers when considering which potential transfers to accept. So the best qualified teachers are often ignored. They're often exempt. They're often not even given a chance to interview. And it should also be noted that since 2005, schools have begun to be charged the actual salary of their teachers. So this is giving principals a strong financial incentive to discriminate against senior expensive transfers. Even though most principals will actually tell you, like, look, I prefer to hire an expensive, experienced teacher because I know that they know how to teach the best. But given my budget keeps on getting cut every single year, I cannot afford to hire this 22-year veteran when I could hire two first-year teachers or second-year teachers for the price of one experienced teacher. So with Solidarity Caucus, which I am one of the founders of, a lot of our members are ATRs, a lot of them were excess teachers, a lot of them are veteran teachers, a lot of them have been dealing with issues inside their schools, and they've been trying to find greener pastures. But because of the way the system is, it's really hard to do so. So Solidarity has this really good, in my opinion, a really good guide that basically teaches folks how to navigate the system. This is a very rough system. This is a very unforgiving system, especially if you're older and more senior. But I've spoken to many teachers who are veteran, who make six figures, and they are still able to find decent schools. So I pull their ideas I pull the ideas of teachers like myself, which I'll be getting into later on, who were unfairly terminated, who were blacklisted, who were investigated by their principals, who were still able to find jobs and bounce back. So through everyone's resources, we in Solidarity were able to produce our job hunting guide.
Teaching is perhaps the only profession where you are more highly sought after if you have less experience, if you are a relative neophyte in the job. And seniority does not pay for itself when it comes to having to find the budget, and that perverse incentive that works its way into a principal's set of incentives of how am I going to pay for this person when we need more bodies in the school, that's such a huge problem. Lydia, you are not currently teaching at the school where you started. Could you walk us through your personal experience in transferring schools?
Oh boy. So I started out teaching at a small international high school in District 9 in the South Bronx. My first school was the Academy for Language and Technology. And this school was very unique in the fact that the principal liked to hire on the cheap, not just to save money so she can spend the budget on coaches and other nice things to make the school look pretty but not really help anybody in the end, but she also liked the young folks so she can bully us. I was one of 11 new first-year teachers to join the school staff. And the school staff only had about, I'd say, like 28 teachers. So almost 50% of the staff was hired brand new in 2012. I quickly rubbed shoulders with my principal the wrong way, because when I was a first-year teacher and my father passed away mid-year, I took time off, as was my contractual right. When I came back, I asked my principal, it's the new year. I know I heard a rumor that we had the budget for textbooks. Where are the textbooks that I asked for my bilingual kids? Where are the Spanish books? Where are the English books? So I can have the kids use both books to be able to make sense of their history classes. And that I found out that was something that you don't do in the school. You don't ask questions. And by a very simple question of asking about textbooks, asking about supplies, that, by the way, folks, you're contractually allowed to have, you have a right to ask for supplies. My principal didn't like that. And that was when things just rapidly turned. I went from being a satisfactory teacher. So at this time, Danielson wasn't allowed. We still had the old satisfactory and U-based system. And Unity is going to argue, until they're blue in the face, that the Danielson system is great because it would, quote unquote, save folks. But guess what? Under the old SNU system, things weren't great either. And Unity has done an abysmal job, in my opinion, at protecting folks like myself from abusive principals. So my principal went after me, false investigations, unsatisfactory ratings, letters to file. I filed a grievance. She played hardball. She called me unprofessional to her face. She shouted at me in the middle of a staff meeting. And I was then placed under a false investigation and reassigned. While I was reassigned, I suspect because I had, filed a grievance, she discontinued me. So discontinuance, for folks who don't understand, that is basically a termination. It is really insidious because a discontinuance, in theory means that you can no longer work in the same district. But because the DU system is now centralized and because it is all computer-based, the discontinuance goes on your record as a, quote, red flag, and this could bar you from being employed anywhere in the DOE. The unlikelihood of myself getting discontinued and false investigated, you have 2 red flags on your file. So after 1 year in the DOE, I was fired in summer of 2013. I had to hire my own attorney because, as my old district rep from Unity said, well, we know she's a career ender, but you know what? There's nothing we can do because the principals union governs their own. And, we can't get our hands tangled with that. So you are on your own. So I had to basically fight my own. A lot of the folks who I worked with in Solidarity were the original folks who helped me. Even the folks who are not in Solidarity Caucus, people who are in ICE UFT, like Norm Scott, James Eterno, Eric Chastanoff, who is unfortunately not with us anymore, Francesco Pichellos, Jonathan Hinesley, Quinn Zanoni, Eric Severson, they all helped me in this journey. They all helped me find an attorney. They taught me how to fight back. I was able to win my lawsuit because my principal was caught doing some things that she should not have been doing. In the very rare occasion, because she was caught misusing DOE funding, the DOE let go of her. They didn't let me in voluntarily. I still had to fight back, kicking and screaming. It took me forever to get a license to go back as a per diem sub.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. But thankfully, with the help of my attorney, with the help of my colleagues, I was able to get back in the DOE. And I was finally able to get rehired for a full-time position in the DOE in 2016. I was rehired at the High School for Excellence and Innovation in District 6. It is a transfer high school. I worked with Tiana Washington and Ingrid Williams for 3 years. I gained my confidence back after really feeling like I was on the verge of failure. I was dealing with imposter syndrome, in other words, thinking okay, can I really do this after being fired after 1 year? So I was there for 3 years. I ran for UFT president in 2019, and I suspect that was the reason why my principal said, I can't give you tenure. So I basically told her in more words or less, deuces, I'm transferring. I was hired then to work at Clara Barton High School with the amazing Richard Foreman, who is a union guy who understands, about the beauty of unions because he's very active in his union. He and my now retired AP, Lynette Alexander, saw me teach, and through their dedication and hard work and ability and believing in me, I was able to get tenure in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm at Clara Barton High School now. So I have been at 3 DOE schools full time. I have worked as lead replacements in many other schools across the city in 4 out of 5 boroughs. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. And I'm just so happy to be back in the DOE where I can work and support teachers.
And what a great position that puts you in to tell other people about how to transfer, having done it so many times in the 10 years that you've been teaching. Now, I first became aware of your work through your candidacy with the UFC slate. Did your experience in your first few years in your first year of teaching and then the few years that it took to get back into teaching full time, have any impact on your drive to get into and then continue doing union work?
Absolutely. Solidarity is basically bread and butter, is really big on bread and butter union issues. We are a trade unionist group to the core. So our focus is working conditions of teachers. We believe that if teachers do not feel safe in their buildings, if teachers don't feel respected, then nothing else matters in the end. Because if teachers aren't happy and they're feeling supported, then the kids aren't getting the support and love they need. Teachers in my first school were being abused. They didn't know who to trust. And as a result, the kids were feeling unsafe. They really felt they weren't supported at all. They felt like the kids would even tell me stories in my first school, like, Miss, I feel like I'm constantly being snitched on in this school. I don't really feel safe at all. So this is why Solidarity is all about is all about teacher issues that are happening in the workplace. Working with Solidarity for, my God, we officially founded. We were founded in November 11th, 2014. And we have been fighting for teachers ever since. So we have filed lawsuits to help teachers get their jobs back. We fought for more inclusive access for teachers to during the pandemic to get childcare access, childcare accommodations, as well as medical accommodations. We fought. We pushed Michael Mulger to encourage the DOE to, make, the medical accommodation system easier and more accessible for folks. And we have been pushing for reductions in paperwork. We have been fighting really hard to inform ATRs, who are absent teacher reserves, of their rights. We have been teaching teachers how to fight back if they're dealing with, a discontinuance. Like, what do you do if you're a first-time chapter leader? What do you do if you feel like nobody has your back? There are certain things you can do that, unfortunately, the union doesn't teach us. We don't learn in teacher college how to fight back. I mean, like, it's unfathomable. It's like, I went to Hunter College. I learned how to be a history teacher. I learned about differentiation. I learned about lesson plans. I learned about unit plans. But I never really thought that I would be having to fight for my career. I never thought that I would be helping other teachers fight for their career. If you had told me 11, 12 years ago when I was still in college that this is what I would be spending a lot of my time and energy doing, I would not have believed you. But knowing what I know now, knowing the people I know now, it's really not surprising. And a lot of people come to us, they're like, look, I was having a great 15 years in my school. I got a new principal, and then my life is like, the world is turned upside down in my school. What do I do? So a lot of the stuff that Solidarity and UFC do, a lot of the stuff is triage. So we're meeting teachers on like the worst day, the worst week, the worst year of their lives. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to help them make sense of it. We're trying to say, it's okay. It's going to be okay. So one source that we have for teachers is that we know, Unity is always going to say, well, we can't change the principal. We can't do this. You got to transfer schools. And unless, UFC needs to win, folks, please vote for UFC so we can really show the DOE that the union has teeth again. So we can show the principals union it's fine for you to be a union, but you cannot abuse other folks at the expense of your own power trip. So UFC has actually produced this really good, in my opinion, comprehensive teacher support guide of helping teachers find jobs. And I've been told that it has helped many teachers find jobs. And a lot of the experiences that you're going to see in the teacher guide, I'll send you the link later, Noah, so you can post it in on social media. A lot of the stuff comes from myself and other teacher friends who have used pseudonyms. So all the resources you're going to see in that teacher guide, it's all tried and true stuff. It's not BS. It's all stuff that has worked. Of course, it's no guarantee that it may work for you because every person's situation is different. But a lot of the stuff is good. And I truly just think that the more you know, the better off you are in the end at trying to fight back and find your best fit school.
Yeah. So what are some of those main points that you would stress for any teacher who has made it to this point in the school year and can't imagine doing another year at the school where they're currently teaching?
Well, I think the best thing to really do is just start thinking about what are some things that I have done at my school and at my previous schools that I could really highlight in a personalized cover letter. A lot of teacher friends I've met, they do a very generic cover letter. And unfortunately, I know a lot of folks, it's a lot of work, but I truly think that personalizing a cover letter is the key to getting yourself in the door. It is a lot of work. It is not easy. But if you can start thinking about, okay, what is a good general template that I can have for a cover letter? And then what is one paragraph that I can switch out for every school that is my best fit school, so I can figure out, okay, I have these things that I can keep, but I have this one paragraph that I can personalize to John Adams High School or Clara Barton High School or MS 202 Queens. What are some things that I see in these schools that I can definitely talk about? And moreover, just think about, how can you make the school better? What are some things that you do really well? For me, for example, my big thing is documentary filmmaking and teaching kids how to use film as a tool for protest and understanding the world around them. So for me, I talk about my filmmaking skills. It's very niche, not all schools are going to go for it, but don't be afraid to showcase what makes you unique. Another one of my friends has done college counseling for many years. He is a 23-year ESL teacher. He makes six figures, but he is one of the best college counselors I have met personally. And he uses that to shine in his cover letter. He has gotten many interviews through that. And if he can get a decent school offer, if he even got 2 school offers in one year when he was applying. And you just gotta know what your strengths are, and you just gotta like brag about it. Another thing that I recommend folks to do is go through the list of schools that you can see yourself applying to. Make a list of about 150 schools. And then from that 150, I want you to make 3 lists. Schools that I would love to work in, schools that are decent and that I could probably be happy in. And there's a final saying like, well, if I have to, I can probably make this school work. So for me, this is just what I do. I make my list, and I put all the fancy stuff on the first 2 lists, the ones that I love and the ones that I really like. And then, you put in a little bit less effort, but still enough details, enough consideration into the if I have to, because you never know. Things may or may not work out. You can easily get a offer in a school that's really close to your house that may not be the best fit for you philosophically, but if you have children, if you have elderly parents, it might be an easy school to possibly transfer to, especially if commute is a concern. I really recommend for teachers, just don't limit yourself, and also always speak to folks inside the school. Like, folks inside the school really know best. Don't rely on folks on the hiring committee as well, because folks on the hiring committee often are folks who are like, real big soldiers for the school. They love the school. They're going to praise the school.
Right.
And, it's great to hear the good things about the school, but you also got to remember like what is not being said and what is also being thought of and what is being said by the folks who are not in the principal's inner circle, the folks who are the outliers, the folks who really know what's happening. So when I transferred to Clara Barton, Eric Severson is one of my good friends from Solidarity. I got everything from Eric, and then he introduced me to the chapter leader, and she gave me the inside. And I was like, you know what? I can make it work here. I can make it work here. It's an easier commute than transferring to Inwood, than working in Inwood or the Bronx. I can make it work in Crown Heights. So just knowing, what you can do, just knowing what's happening on the inside, making those lists and personalizing those cover letters. Oh, and also one last thing that's really important. Don't rely on open market, because a lot of the positions will be concealed. A lot of principals use open market as like a formality. Often folks will find a position posted on open market just to basically just to like seal the deal with a candidate. So in my school now, like at Barton, there was a opening mid-year in March. I was offered the position in March. My AP was like, look, I want to hire you now, but I can't because the budget hasn't been released yet until June. But we will let you know when the budget gets released, because then we'll post your job on open market. We'll tell you what the number is, and you then apply to that job, and then we'll take down the job, and we got you. That's how they often do it, unfortunately. And principals often have their candidates in mind. So beat that curve, reach out to principals sooner than later. The new DOE website actually links the principal's emails like on the school page. So it's so easy now to find your principal's email. I also recommend folks use your DOE email to contact principals directly, because you have a less likelihood of your resume and your cover letter going into their spam folder. So if you use your DOE email and you contact the principal saying, hi, this is my personalized cover letter, this is my resume attached, I really want to work in your school, the principal will see it and they will respond. Even during break, even on weekends, if they need a teacher, they're going to hire you. Because right now, folks, it is a teacher market. We haven't seen a teacher market in years. This is us. This is for us. So folks, take advantage of this right now.
Lydia, what defines a teacher market? What makes a market favorable for teachers?
Sadly, under the situation that we're in this pandemic, post-pandemic world, we're seeing that the DOE is so quick to trying to go back to normal that they're really neglecting the needs of the students and the educators who work in the schools. Admin are under tremendous stress. Educators, paras, kids are under stress. And unfortunately, this is leading to a lot of resignations. We're also seeing a lot of resignations due to the vaccine mandates. We're seeing schools that are struggling to hire people. schools have open positions. They're hiring per diem subs for a semester. And don't get me started on subs who aren't getting their benefits. If you are, by the way, folks, I'm going to do a sound plug, folks. If you are a sub and you're being asked to cover a semester-long or year-long program, talk to your chapter leader, talk to your district rep about getting your rights and benefits. You are entitled to health care. You are entitled to your health benefits. You shouldn't be getting the per diem pay. You should be getting up to salary step 4A. So, folks, please act on this. This is your job. This is your livelihood. Don't worry about ruffling feathers. Like, this has to be for you. Remember, folks, this is a teacher market. Principals need bodies. They're not going to just throw you out simply because, this person asked for something. Not necessarily true. It's like, I can't have this group of students alone without a teacher. I need to keep Miss Lawson or Mr. Smith. Even though they want more money, I can work it out with legal. For now, they're going to stay in the class. They're going to work with the kids because we need bodies. I think it's just teachers are also resigning, retiring. I've heard from a lot of senior teachers who are saying, like, this is it. I'm done. This is exhausting. And I think a lot of teachers are just also feeling just disgusted with the union. I mean, like, a lot of teachers are saying, like, Michael Mulger really let us down. He really made us go back to unsafe work conditions. He left us alone. And all he does is go to these town hall meetings. We hear him talk for an hour. He doesn't let all of us speak and share concerns. And he basically says, like, oh, we're teachers, we're tough, UFT, we're strong. And it's like, it's words. What exactly are you doing to make our lives better? So I really hope and pray that in this teacher market, in this new, hopefully, reality, I hope teachers are really seeing that, look, you need to take control of your work conditions. You need to vote for United for Change. You need to realize that, the union can't just be making excuses for us anymore. We are the union, yes, and we have a right to demand that our union treats us fairly. That's what I really hope that teachers come out of this teacher market realizing.
Now, you mentioned earlier the importance of personalizing a cover letter. What's a surefire way of making sure that you have the details you need in order to personalize that cover letter? Where do you have to go digging?
Well, thankfully now, many schools have really nice up-to-date websites. So I've noticed a big difference from 3 years ago when, having a nice website, an up-to-date website was kind of like a rarity. Now it's becoming more and more common. So definitely go look for a school's website. Also go on the DOE website for a school as well. Schools often have their comprehensive educational plans where you see the goals they're setting for their school community. You'll often see quality reviews, and basically you'll be able to see things, what the school is doing well, areas they're struggling with, and think about, what is something that the school is being celebrated for? What are they trying to work on? And then you can think about, like, okay, I see that you guys are really trying to, improve intervisitations and helping teachers strengthen their engagement practices. One thing I would say in a cover letter is, like, look, at Clara Barton, we had something called the Pilot Project during the 2020-2021 school year, in which teachers invited their colleagues into their remote classrooms to showcase different things they were doing well, so we can share ideas and best practices with with our peers. Showcase something you've done that's cool, that can help the school either heighten or just strengthen a best practice already, or maybe even share an idea of something that you've used in a previous school. Like, a lot of principals are just really hungry for fresh ideas and fresh talent. And they're just really eager to hear your ideas. So don't be shy about sharing things that you've done. Don't be shy about sharing it in a cover letter. Don't be shy also about having, like, a digital profile. So folks who I know who have enough for tenure, a lot of folks already have, like, a digital tenure portfolio. Even if you've been a couple of years since getting tenure like I have, keep updating that website that you have. That way you can easily showcase your best resources that you have on that website. So the principal says, oh, wow, you've been talking about project-based learning. Like, do you have a sample? I'm like, well, I don't have a sample with me, but here's a QR code. Take a look, and I'm going to walk you through on the website using my tablet, like a project-based assessment that I've designed and work with my kids, and you can see the student work products. It seems like you're being a go-getter and a brown noser, but even in a teacher market, you are competing, folks, don't forget, with teachers who are younger than you, or teachers who are on the flip side older than you, who may have a certain connection with the school, who may have a certain skill set that you don't have. Do whatever you can to stand out. And also, folks, always make sure that your cover letter is neatly organized. Keep things structured. Have an intro that talks about yourself. Talk about what you would bring to the school. Talk about some things that you do in your current school, and then have a conclusion that basically talks about all the things you would bring to the school. That way, the principal remembers you on like a really good, strong high note.
Thinking at sort of the macro level of waves of teacher shortage and waves of teacher surplus, and how the system adjusts in order to even these numbers out. What do you think, other than having an easier time finding a job right now, what might end up happening as a result of the teacher market that we're experiencing right now in the next year, 2 years?
It's hard to say, honestly. We are dealing with a mayor who is bringing back a lot of folks from the Bloomberg years. I was teaching at the tail end of the Bloomberg years, and let me tell you, folks, those years weren't pretty. Under Bloomberg, we saw teachers who were struggling to get tenure. We saw increased numbers of teachers who were getting discontinued, who were getting 30-28, because Bloomberg is realizing, God, I got to get rid of these problematic tenure teachers. So I'm just going to give principals more onus to get rid of people that they don't like in their schools. We may be seeing these, even though it is a teacher market, but there are more of us than there are of them. And by them, I'm referring to the DOE legal. I'm referring to the 400 lawyers that basically run more or less the DOE. Remember, folks, the chancellor is basically a figurehead. The DOE is run by lawyers. A principal will always say, let me talk to legal rather than let me talk to my boss, my superintendent. It's just, you always got to be mindful of the fact that even though we are in a teacher's market, we have a mayor who is very anti-teacher, who is very pro-privatization, and who even doesn't like our union president because our union president didn't want to endorse him. And honestly, rightfully so. Like, Mayor Adams is not a teacher-friendly, a friend of unions.
Right.
A lot of policemen even don't even like him. Like, he's just not a friend of unions and working people. And it's just like, we just got to be careful that because so many folks are resigning and retiring, that there are more opportunities for growth. But also keep in mind, folks, that a lot of folks who do work in the schools that are decent, a lot of them may really not even want to move. So, you got to be careful to make sure you don't make a move that could put you in a similar situation that you are in, or have a bit like a worse situation. So, folks, we got to be careful, even in a teacher market.
The move from one bad place to another bad place is always a possibility, especially if you're not doing the research that really is necessary, the due diligence. So we can't necessarily look forward to any big reforms to tier 6, any 15% raise, anything like that in a teacher market.
I wish. I mean, this is a contract year. I mean, we have a lot of folks from UFC who are on the contract negotiation committee. I'm not. I have too much on my plate, but I have a lot of good friends from Solidarity, from New Action, from More, who are doing the work, who are, sorry to steal Unity's slogan, we are doing the work. We are bringing back information to our communities. We're bringing back information, and we are trying to be fighting, and we're trying to be loud, and we're trying to push back, and we're trying to show Unity, look, we're going to fight back. We can work with you, but we're going to demand our due. We're going to demand and make sure that our city leadership hears us, that we are negotiating from a strong place and not from, the city's never going to give us that, so let's not even ask for that, or not even go into. Or sometimes what the union will do is that they'll go into a bargaining meeting saying they're not going to give us this, and they're going to ask for a giveaway, and it's like you're already starting from a very low pattern bargaining perspective. It's like the other unions can't stand us because we always keep things low. because our teacher union is like scared of really being militant and fighting back. Like the FDNY, sanitation, MTA, the police, they hate us because our union leadership always negotiates super low, and they could be better. We could fight for more, but our union leadership doesn't, and we still get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, that I'm thinking back to what you mentioned about your first principal who got caught and became persona non grata for something completely unrelated to how she was treating her teachers, and it seems so arbitrary that would be the thing that then validates your concerns as a teacher who had been falsely investigated and then discontinued. Like, that would have never been rectified were it not for the fact that the principal slipped up in doing something nefarious. But the people on the other end of the bargaining table, in trying to suppress our working condition, our rights to decent working conditions, our salaries and that sort of thing, that is nefarious. That is bad. That's something that should be celebrated. And we caught them, and it's out there. It's completely open and public knowledge. And I mean, the vice chancellor right now, or first deputy chancellor, sorry, was a labor lawyer under Bloomberg, fighting against the interests of teachers. Now he is the first deputy chancellor. That he should have already been persona non grata. He should have never been able to work in the DOE again. And yet here we are. It is such a strange state of affairs that this is how it works. But I guess it is how it works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, the DOE, from what I've heard, even when mayoral control is just a beast. We need to do away with mayoral control, like, desperately. Randy Weingarten actually is one of the reasons why we have mayoral control, because she thought at the time that she could control Joe Klein. She thought she could control Bloomberg, and they outfoxed her. And now we're in the situation where folks are saying, like, mayoral control is the best thing we got, because, a lot of districts that don't have mayoral control, they are even worse of a mess than New York. But if you ask folks who have been teaching for a long time, they're like, look, under community control, yes, there was nepotism. Yes, there was corruption, but it was nothing compared to what we're seeing now. Like, back then, parents had a voice. Districts had a voice. We had the ability to actually make localized decisions. If there was community control, the principal at PS 58K in Brooklyn would probably have been able to close her school in COVID without being disciplined.
Right.
Like, I think we remember the principal in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn, who closed her school because she didn't have enough staff. And she was like, look, we got to go remote. Like, I don't care what the DOE says. I have to do what's right for my kids, for my community, and for my teachers. And she got disciplined for it. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And even my own principals, like, so many of my folks in Barton, we were getting sick from COVID. And my principal's like, I wish I can close, but I can't. Eventually, people just need to wise up to the fact that mayoral control is not our friend. Long Island does not have mayoral control. There's some of their districts work great. Some of the districts are very corrupt. But it's nothing compared to what we're seeing under mayoral control. We need to get rid of it. Our union needs to take a strong firm on it, and they need to stop delaying it. We need to have a resolution that strongly pushes back against mayoral control. We need to wake the parents up. We need to vote against mayoral control.
Hear, hear. Yeah, that's something I recently got to have a conversation with Sean Ahern and Daniel Alisea, and it was it really is just staggering how all roads point to ending mayoral control if you want to fix any problem that you can identify. It is somehow connected. It is 6 degrees of separation from mayoral control, and not even that. It's typically 1 or 2 degrees of separation here.
My principal, the one who discontinued me, she was personal friends with Joe Klein. He would visit the school. So for me, mayoral control is like literally 2 degrees of separation. I would not have been discontinued if the DOE was run by community boards. Many of the teachers that myself and Solidarity support who were discontinued, they would not be fired had we been under community control. Or if you were discontinued from your school just because you just rubbed the principal the wrong way, you'll be able to get a job easily in another district. Like, it's just everything points to mayoral control. It is evil.
Any parting words for the listener?
Don't give up. Feel free to message us. So UFT Solidarity is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're on those social media platforms, give us give us a ring, give us a buzz, send us a message, and one of us will get back to you, and we'll do the best we can to help you. Also follow United for Change on social media as well. Look for those ballots. Vote for United for Change, and let's do some real work to actually get the union where we need it to be.
Thanks so much for stopping by, Lydia, and for your union work and sharing your wisdom with us. You just mentioned UFT Solidarity. If the listener is interested in following your union work and the like, is there anything else they should be plugged into?
I would also just make sure you follow the Solidarity blog. So it's solidarityuft.org. We have a lot of toolkits and a lot of resources to help folks out with anything, from finding a job to fighting back against discontinuance, what to do if you get investigated, what to do if you're a first-time chapter leader, and how to file a grievance, your contractor rights, everything under the sun, soup to nuts. It is the most comprehensive guide that you'll probably find anywhere.
Awesome. Thanks again, Lydia.
Thank you, Noah.